Welcome to the show where we start with hello. Hi, and welcome back to my channel. It's been a while, as it usually is. In this short, I want to just give my perspective on, I want to give my perspective on the case of, you could say colonialism, neo-colonialism, white governments oppressing African governments. And I guess I should give a bit of a backstory. Well, just a little bit of a backstory. I have stopped feeling this black victimization that many black people are under, particularly Western black people, um, and also some Africans as well, but not as many Africans as you would think. If you're from the Western world, if you aren't aware of it, most Africans, at least in Gabon where I'm from, but yeah, and in Gabon there's a lot of Africans from like West Africa, Central Africa, so most Africans aren't under any illusions that they can't have nice things because white people are keeping them from having nice things. That's not how most Africans view the situation. Most Africans are aware of the fact that most Africans cannot have nice things, within your country, because your leaders are greedy and selfish, and they don't care about the masses of the population. They care about their interests and what they'll get from their alliances with Western governments. So why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because, I felt moved to share this, and this was in response to watching a video from Abba and Preach, and it was a video where they were talking about how people are upset with Mr. Beast because a YouTuber, for those who don't know, I only found out who he was recently because people did videos about him when he had cured people of blindness. Well, when he paid for people to get the surgery to be cured of blindness, because he didn't do it personally himself, the surgeries, but he paid. So yeah. Anyway, this YouTuber, so think recently he paid for a whole bunch of shoes to be given to some African children who are shoeless and have to walk to school or wherever they walk to, and to be able to have, their feet covered. So people are apparently upset about that, and as people are wont to do, people are saying that, like, that's not what Africans need, you're just doing this for virtue signaling and blah, 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 blah. Essentially, Abba and Preach were both saying, I'm boiling it down, I'm just kind of like summarizing, synthesizing, they're essentially saying that whether someone does something good for virtue signaling or not, at least they did a good thing. And you are just triggered by the fact that, bless you, baby, you're just triggered by the fact that this is a reflection of your lack of goodwill in your own life, because someone who actually does do things for people on whatever small scale that they can, they would never demonize someone for doing what they can do. They would just encourage them, because if you are actually doing a little bit on your own level and you see someone who can do more than you can, you're like, that's dope, because if I could do more like that, I would also do more like that. The only people who have an issue with that are the people who have no real desire to reach out to others and help. So, yeah. Anyway, in the comments, so the pit of shame for that video of theirs, because for those of you who don't watch Abba and Preach, they often have a comment that they pin at the top of their video, of their chat section, comment section. And it's usually a comment where they kind of like, well, the commenters have dubbed it the pin of shame, because it's usually a perspective on what they said that is warped and idiotic. And so that's why it's called the pin of shame. And so the pin of shame for this episode was this one guy who was essentially saying, you know, No, no, let me synthesize it and then I'll get to it. He was essentially saying that Abba and Preach needed to look up the white savior complex because this guy was just, like a white savior, and that's not really the kind of help that Africans need anyway. And so, yeah, a whole bunch of people responded to him, and then he left another response in the comments. All right, right. Let me just kind of give an idea of what Abba and Preach's response was to what they said, right? Because in this guy's pinned of shame comment, he was saying, Abba, you're an African, so you should know about this and blah blah blah. And yeah, and then within his comment, Abba was essentially saying that, yeah, as an African, I know that, and most Africans know that our leaders are the issue, and we aren't lacking good things or whatever because the white man came and said you can't have good things. It's because our own people, are making it kind of difficult for us to have more things. I mean, this is just kind of like on a national scale. Obviously, there's people who are comfortable within the country. I am comfortable within my own country, so I don't have much to complain about because, well, why would I? But that would just be a lie. But we're just speaking on the national scale. This is the reality of things. So anyway, he left another response. So he responded to Abba and Preach's comment, and I responded to his comment, and I just kind of want to share what I responded because I feel like it just kind of sums up maybe what I've somewhat already said, but it sums up but no, I haven't said it all. It sums up my perspective on colonialism and white governments um, having power over African governments or wherever else. To sum it up even more before I read the comment, I'll just say that I don't believe that white governments actually have power over African governments. Um, yes, I believe that African governments allow white governments to actually allow white governments to do what they want to do with their countries, and that's just that. Yeah, that's that. Okay, so I'm just gonna read my response to this guy because it kind of sums up. So, oh, okay, I'm gonna read the first part of his comment, but then because I took a screenshot, but it's oh no, this is the full version. Okay, good. Okay, so this was the original pin of shame guy's response to Abba and Preacher's response to his pin of shame comment. So he says, "I'm African and I say it and have seen it. Merci pour le pin, by the way. Thanks for the pin, by the way. Je l'attends depuis des années. I've been waiting for it for years." You're shifting the point here. Not talking about our leaders, even though we agree on that. If you don't see a correlation between the white savior complex, how Africa is viewed around the world, and how African descendants is what he meant to say, are treated in this world, you have to study the question a bit more. Moreover, I will add that the white savior complex helps Westerners, doesn't matter the color, to disassociate with how and why a lot of our continent is poor, and to not think about our collective, country-wise and individually, responsibility in this situation. Don't shift the argument. We're not talking about our leaders. We're talking about the white savior complex, what it entails, and how it shapes the visions and actions towards Africa and Africa while putting the real issues under the rug, the imperialism of the West, helped by our leaders, obviously. So when these saviors built their school or whatever, they built their feel good home. They wait. Well, sorry. So when these saviors built their school or whatever they build, they feel good, go home, and never question the responsibility of their own government. You're African, right? Then you must know, for example, how US, Canadians, and French companies, supported by their governments, help spreading deaths in the name of making money and helping us. I'm not upset. I have studied how this type of action doesn't actually help us in the long run. Oh my gosh, you can just smell the woke on this guy. You can smell that this guy went to a university. All the stupid words he uses, how it shapes visions and actions. Oh my gosh, these are the types of people. When I was in a formal university for a year, I was just always like in the back of the auditorium, just like, what? And you can just see how people are so proud of themselves for using these phrases that sound so dumb. We're just building futures. Building futures. Shut up. Okay. So I responded to this guy and I said, he's not shifting the point. He's saying the white savior complex is meaningless without the assent of African leaders anyway. Whatever Africa allows is because of our leaders. We could go into war to stand for our freedom, but we don't. In my country, for instance, because the current dynasty in power enjoys its power, leaving the masses in poverty and squalor. And we have a cowardly people. No one is ignorant to this in Gabon. Western companies have interests in African countries thanks to the accord of African leaders. An accord is a euphemism for greed and weakness of character. White governments don't have a responsibility to maintain peace and stability in any countries but their own. Geopolitics is not about friendship and helping each other, it's about power and dominance. Those willing to go hard will win, those unwilling will lose. The white savior complex is only a notion that has value when you think the world should be kumbaya and that countries actually owe each other apologies for the conflicts they've had. That is the fallacy of modern day peace. Diplomacy does not translate to camaraderie and good sportsmanship. And I said, P.S., what else helps us in the long run? What helps us in the long run? And who should that help be coming from? Westerners or us Africans? And I added the last part of like, what help should we get and who should it be coming from? Because he mentions the fact that white governments, Western governments aren't taking responsibility for their actions, as if they should somehow pay something back to Africans. But then again, sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. Completely lost my train of thought. But essentially, wait, let me try to find it again. Let me find that train of thought back. Let me find it again. Right. Okay. Moreover, I'll add that the white savior complex, this is that guy, helps Westerners, doesn't matter the color, to disassociate with how and why a lot of our continent is poor, and to not think about our collective responsibility in the situation. Putting the real issues under the rug, the imperialism of the West. So any of these saviors build their school or whatever, whatever they build, they feel good, go home, and never question the responsibility of their own government. Okay. Essentially, what I'm kind of trying to say is that, like, if there's an issue with white people doing good things and feeling good about it and going home, and if they have some kind of responsibility to fix the problem that they've helped to create in African countries, aren't they then still going to end up feeling good and going home because they've done the right thing and that's not what you want? But in any case, that was just a side point. The main point is that this guy is going off of this idea. This guy and all people who think like him, they're going off of this idea that countries owe each other anything. Countries don't owe each other anything. I don't have the most in-depth knowledge of geopolitics. Yeah, I don't have the most in-depth knowledge of geopolitics. I don't know all the geopolitical organisms that exist, and I don't know all of their clauses, their purposes, their functions, and so on and so forth. I don't know all of that. What I do know is how power works. You know, if I'm in a room with 3 people, 2 people, 5 people, however many people, I understand how power dynamics function. I know who has the power in the room. I understand the way power works. And there is no obligation. And wait, before I get there, and so my understanding of geopolitics comes from my understanding of the fact that a country acts the way one person does, essentially. And so geopolitics is just power dynamics from like between 5 people. It's the same. It's a macrocosm of power dynamics between people. So I understand how that works. And no one owes anyone anything. No one owes anyone anything. If you're kind to someone, that's a great thing to be. If you help someone fix their problem, that's a great thing to do. But it's not your job to do that. The person who has the issue is the person who's supposed to solve the problem. It's your responsibility. It's no one else's. This world is run by people who have the desire to have power, who have the desire to rule, and many also have the desire to conquer. That's human nature. There is not this, I think because of these treaties, this is kind of where I was going with the geopolitical aspect as well. because of all the treaties that have been created and stuff, I think it's given this notion to many people that the world we live in is supposed to be peaceful. And I'm not so sure about that. I don't think the world is supposed to be peaceful. It's a peace that we try to maintain because everyone is happier when there's peace. But we don't have to have peace. We can have war. That can happen. And if I go to war with you, you can take it. You can just, let me do whatever I want, or you can fight back. But those are the only choices that you have. You take it or you fight back. It's a choice. Regardless of what you do, you've chosen something. And I'm not now mean because I've attacked you. I mean, obviously, it's not great to do that, but I'm just kind of like, I'm trying to be real. And I hope I'm making sense. Realistically, if someone wants to go to war with you, they'll go to war with you. It's your job as a country to defend yourself and to stand up for your own country and to destroy the person who's trying to destroy you, if that's what you have to do. That country doesn't then need to come back to you and be like, I'm sorry for attacking you. Here, let me rebuild your house. It's not my job. This is not we're not friends, you know? We can have diplomatic alliances, but that doesn't make me your friend. And maybe our diplomatic alliance can involve me restructuring or whatever because now you have something that I want. But that's all it is. I'm just trying to get what I can get from you. And just like you're trying to get what you can get from me. But don't get your people now thinking that we owe you any more than that. That's your responsibility. You are the country's leaders. You guys are supposed to fix the extra stuff. We've made a diplomatic pact because I want something from you, you want something from me. And if I don't want to fight you for it, that's why we have the diplomatic pact. I don't have to have this diplomatic pact. I can just kill you and take it. So, this notion of, well, white countries really need to take responsibility for what they did. No, they don't. They don't have to take responsibility for anything because they don't owe you anything. Just like African countries, if they attacked another blah, 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 they don't have to because, in the realistic sense of life, that's how it is. You kill or be killed, you eat or be eaten. This notion that it's all kumbaya is a lie. It's an absolute lie. Because, in a way, I understand people are trying to hold accountable these pacts that have been created, right? It's like, well, you created these pacts, this idea of peace, and so you should maintain it. But I mean, get smart. Get smart. Get discernment about how life actually works. It's all a front. No one owes you anything. Just like white people who may have colonized and who colonized, yeah, they don't owe black people anything. It's not up to white people to fix the problem of colonization here. It's not up to them. It's up to us. So I honestly have no issue. I have no issue with a white person who's choosing to help Africans, even if it just makes them feel good. Because if it's kind of like if you take a family, your parents are the ones who are supposed to take care of you. If someone outside of your family does something nice for you, that's great. It's wonderful. Accept it. It's not their job to take care of you. It's your family's job to take care of you, not these strangers. So don't then be like, well, why didn't these strangers not fix anything for me? It's not their job to do that. It's your job to do that. Even if the strangers hit your home, even if the strangers destroyed what you have and blah, blah, blah. Ultimately, they could die. If they die, what happens then? It's your job to take care of yourself. It's no one else's job to take care of you. And it's the same for Africa. It's the same for America. It's the same for Asia. It's the same for Oceania. It's the same for Europe. It's the same for everywhere. Antarctica as well. It's the same for Antarctica, even though there's no one who's like native to there. So yeah, this is essentially what I wanted to say. Wow, that's crazy. The last time I looked at the time, it was 13 minutes. Now it's 19. Whoa. Either way, I really hope that I was clear in my message and my yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Give as much as your heart desires, but don't expect anything in return.